Hello, my name is Ayla. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the most feel-good chord progression of all time. I think we all have those songs that we listen to whenever we just want to have a better day than we're having already. And this song is my go-to always. I think it's one of my personal favorite feel-good songs of all time. And I'm going to play it for you right now. Guess who just got back today? Them wild-eyed boys that have been away haven't changed, had much to say. Man, I was thinking them cats are crazy. They were asking if you were around, how you was, where you could be found. I told them you were living downtown, driving all the old men crazy. The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. That was The Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy, an Irish rock band from the 70s. And this song to me has always felt like summer is just around the corner, and finally we've come to that time of the year where the days are long and you can just relax and have a good time. And what's really interesting about this song is ever since I was little, when I listened to it, even though the lyrics were telling the story, even without the lyrics, just the chords on their own seemed to be telling me that story too. And so I think for anyone who's interested in songwriting, to start to look under the hood at some of the best songs that have been written, to learn how to use chords to communicate emotion, it can be such a valuable experience. And that's the intention of this lesson today. And I want to show you how to play this song, and also I want to maybe allow you to start attaching certain emotional responses to chord movement. And again, that's so helpful for songwriting. And it might allow you to listen to songs with a different perspective as well. So first, we're going to start with the verse of this song. And the verse is essentially two chord progressions put together that are similar but a little different. And what's happening here is we're starting in the key of A flat major. I do think in the original song the guitars are down-tuned, but essentially we're in the key of A flat. And so we start here with an A flat major chord. And right off the bat, we're moving to this wonderful C minor 7 chord. This is a chord movement that you would call a 1-to-3 movement if you happen to be familiar with theory. But if you're not, all you really need to pay attention to is what it feels like to go from that first chord to that second chord. And to me, I've always thought that this has felt almost nostalgic. I don't know, the feeling of going from the 1 chord to the 3 chord has a really particular emotion to it for me. And so see if you can tap into whatever emotion you have when you hear that chord movement. And what's cool about this first nostalgic kind of yearning chord movement is we immediately follow it with a lift, where we go from the 3 chord to the 4 chord, which is, in this case, D flat major. We go to this really cool F sus chord, and you can call this the 6th chord if you know your theory, but all you need to pay attention to is, again, the feeling of this chord. And something else that's really cool to notice is usually in a chord progression, that 6th chord would be just a regular minor chord, like what I just played here. But in this song, it's played as a sus chord. And if you don't know what that means, all you really need to pay attention to is the fact that it kind of sounds more mysterious. It sounds more adventurous, maybe? I don't know. This is something that Joni Mitchell has used a lot in her writing. She loves to use these sus chords because they almost feel unresolved. So it really makes you feel like you want to move somewhere else. You move back to that C minor 7 and then back to this F sus chord again. So far we'd have this. And then we end with my favorite part of the whole chord progression. This is called the 2-5-1. very worth knowing what a 2-5-1 is, but in case you don't know, what we're doing here is we're playing a B minor 7 chord. That's our 2 chord. Going to our E flat 5 chord, because that's our 5 chord in the key of A flat. And we're playing a chord that Stevie Wonder loves a lot. This is a dominant 9 sus4 chord. And then we resolve it back to A flat again. So, just to reiterate, our first chord progression, A flat major, C minor 7, and that was D flat major, F sus, C minor 7, F sus, B minor 7, E flat, dominant 9 sus4, and then back to A flat major again. And I lied actually in the first part. I said that this was my favorite chord movement. This is my favorite chord movement. Let me show you. In the second half of the verse. It starts the same way, but then that's what's different. And everything else about the second part of the verse is the exact same as the first part. But what's really interesting about this chord movement is ever since I was really young, I had this whole list of songs that I'd listen to, and I'd hear a certain change in the chords that made me really feel a lot of emotion. And then I started noticing that they all contain this chord movement, like Sitting on a Dock of a Bay by Otis Redding, or the pre-chorus of Saturn by Stevie Wonder, or I'd Have You Anytime by George Harrison, or Call Me by Ludic. And basically, you're just taking a chord, you're moving it up by 3 frets, or in other words, a minor third interval. And you're actually breaking out of the chords of A flat major when you do that. But it sounds so cool. It's like this brief moment where you venture outside of the key. So now that we've looked at the verse, I want to very quickly take a look at the chorus, because this has to be one of the most iconic and anthemic rock and roll choruses. It really feels like we're back home again. And again, the lyrics perfectly describe this, but even without the lyrics, I still get this feeling of being back home again, or like summer's finally arrived again, or you're finally seeing your friends that you've missed so much for the first time in a long time. It just feels like that. And the chords in this part, we start with an A flat major chord. We have this really iconic little riff here on the 6th fret of the A string to the 8th fret, and then 8th fret of the E string. And the next 2 chords, we have a B flat minor 7, and then a D flat major chord, and then back home to our A flat major again. And if you want to make it even more rock and roll, you can just play these as power chords. Because that's what they do in the original song. But the full expanded chords were what I just played for you prior to that. And again, this song, when I just hear the chords on their own, I think of summertime, I think of good times. And let me know if you agree. Or if you disagree, please let me know in the comments below, and let me know what song you always listen to get those feel-good feelings. And thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned a little something from this video. And I'm going to play the whole thing one more time for you just so you can hear it. And I hope you have a great day.